Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Family Friday series. Today, we have a great group of panelists and experts talking about advising and registration, things that we know are top of mind right now as we are just about 6 weeks away from orientation. So hello to everyone again. My name is Sherry Obrentz. I'm an Associate Dean in the Office for Undergraduate Education, joined by Bridget Guernsey-Reardon, in campus life with parent and family programs. And we are just so happy to kick off another Family Friday webinar.
Yes, hello everybody. It's good to see you all. And as Sherry said, we do these every week. Today it's July 9th, 2021. And we're excited to have this topic and these experts because they really are experts in what they do. And we do know that this is your student schedule, but we also know that they ask parents for advice. And so we want you to be informed and equipped to help them. However, please know that we have excellent advisors and that's their first source. But we also know, again, like we said, that you're going to help them too. So thank you for joining us today.
And just a few house rules. Our Q&A is open. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat. Bridget and I will moderate that and either ask our advisors to answer live, but we're joined by a really great group of panelists who, when they're not speaking, can also answer some of those questions in the Q&A. So please feel free to use that. The other thing I'll say is that your students received an email just on Wednesday to sign up for their advising appointments, which we call PRAs, Pre-Registration Advising Appointments. And so I'm going to say this a lot throughout. Kimber's going to talk about this and some of the other advisors too. But we have been doing our pre-registration advising series for new first-year students in this format for the last 5 years. We intentionally ask students to sign up for small group advising for a number of reasons. One, we want to make sure that they get the information as close to registration as possible. And we have a great staff, but we're still limited. So doing them in small groups, make sure that every single first-year student gets to talk to a live advisor before registration. Second, we really value that these are in small group formats because sometimes students ask really great questions that we as advisors might not have put in a presentation. And so being able to answer those live is great. But we also know that students ask things that other students have on their minds, and maybe some are a little bit more shy to ask or wouldn't think to ask unless somebody else asked it first. So we're really excited that this is the 5th year that we're doing pre-registration advising in this format. We'll go into more details about it, but our panelists today are amazing staff and a student from the College of Arts and Sciences. So Kimber Clark's an assistant director in advising. Jason Ehrenzeller is an academic advisor who works with international students. Hugh Grant is an assistant director in pre-health advising. Alice Rotland's assistant director in advising. And we're also joined by Michael Sow, who's a current Emory College student and will help give his perspective too. So I'm going to stop talking and let Kimber take it away with today's agenda.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're just truly excited to welcome you all to Emory University. Today, we're going to talk about quite a few things. I know most on top of your mind is that registration piece. So we're definitely going to spend some time talking about how to prepare your student for registration. What are those student responsibilities? Because we want your students to take agency in this process. We're going to talk about registration appointments and how and when they can register, because it does happen over multiple days. We have a process called Add, Drop, Swap that allows your students to make adjustments to their schedule. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then, of course, we want to provide you with some questions that you can ask your student so you can help and guide and encourage them along the way. All right. So in preparing for registration, there's a lot of things that we would like for you to encourage your student to do. And this will help them as they engage in this process so that they feel most comfortable and prepared when they start registering for their classes. So first of all, submitting all of those AP and IB scores. And we are aware that this year, some of those AP tests were scheduled at a later date. And so we understand that some AP scores are not quite in yet and they may be later. So no need to worry about that. We will work with your students along the way. Just make sure that as soon as those AP scores come in, they get submitted using that code 5187. Your student may also have other credits from previous institutions. And so we have a process for that. So encourage your student to make sure that they submit their college transcript to our Office of Admissions. We have wonderful departments here at Emory University, and each of our departments have very robust websites. So exploring those websites just to get a head start on what our majors are, what are some of the courses that these majors offer, who are the faculty members and instructors. And this year we've even recorded first year of videos for all of our first year students. So making sure that your students have the opportunity to find those departments that they're interested in and take a couple minutes to watch those videos because they're really great and provide some very useful information. So we also have some track advising presentations, which one of my colleagues is going to speak a little bit more in detail in a little bit. But make sure that if your student is interested in one of our tracks, like pre-business or pre-health, that they take a look at those advising presentations as well. Lots of useful information for them there. The course atlas. So the course atlas is going to be a trusty companion for your students as they make their way through their 4 years here at Emory. And this is a tool that will allow your student to search for classes by semester. It will provide them with information on the class, on the instructor, a course description, all the relevant information that they will need. The course atlas is also going to allow your student to filter by particular area. This year, we're really asking your students to make sure that they take a look at the filters using our general education requirement filter. This will allow the student to see classes that are tagged with a particular GER. As opposed to, let's say they were to just search by department. So let's say they search by psychology. Well, they're only going to get the psychology classes. But if they search by GER, they're going to get some psychology classes, but all of those other classes that also have that GER. And I'd actually like to take a minute here to let Michael, our student, give you a little bit of information on how he, as a student, uses the course atlas.
Yeah, so hello, my name is Michael. I'm a current or rising senior at Emory University. My major is human health. And so with my major, I guess kind of what I usually do is when I first look for classes, I filter through the human health courses. And I guess now that I'm a senior, that's more relevant. So I would filter through all the human health courses and then kind of see what I need. But when I was, a first year, second year, I definitely wanted to explore a lot more. I first came in as a chemistry major, but then sort of transitioned into human health, and partly because of using the course atlas. So I would actually look at GERs and kind of see, which ones I needed to fulfill, and then go from there. Found classes that were interesting to me. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Michael. So just a quick few more things here on prepping for registration. Loading up that shopping cart. So we equate the shopping cart to like an Amazon wish list. So this gives your student a chance to put all of those courses that they're interested in taking into a shopping cart so that once it comes time for registration, they can easily move those classes from the shopping cart to being enrolled. So your student can put as many classes in there as they possibly want, as long as those are going to be some of those classes that they're interested in taking. Considering multiple possible schedules. And so we probably will say this multiple times today, that there is no such thing as a perfect schedule. And being flexible and having an open mind and thinking about classes that maybe you never thought about taking, or considering ways in which you can explore different possible disciplines on our campus. So having lots of schedules, lots of flexibility, and just making sure that you remember registration is a process, it's not an event, and it will take some time, but you'll get that schedule that you want.
And can I just follow up a little bit with that, Kimber, too?
Sure.
Because one of the things we really love parents to encourage your students to do is to have that open mind and really think broadly, because we all know that in high school, the course options are pretty limited. You take an English, you take a math, you take a history. It's kind of step block, maybe senior year, you get a little bit more choice if you're taking APs or other things. But at Emory, we have over 52 departments and programs. So hundreds and hundreds of different classes. And we found, as Michael even just said, using that course atlas, he found classes that he would have never known to take or knew even existed. You know, anthropology is not taught in high school, or even sociology or things like human health. And so we really mean it when we want your students to explore. And all of these tools and tips that Kimber has talked about are great ways for them to get started.
Okay, we're going to talk about a couple of deadlines for our students to do. Have a dedicated committed to the seamless transition of your students on campus. And there's a couple of things we need from you guys as well. The first of those is our Emory Essentials Packet 1, which has a due date of June 15th, which is passed. If your student still hasn't completed that, let's do that immediately. The second is our Emory Essentials Packet 2, which will prepare the student for registration. That packet is available now and has a due date of July 15th. We'd like for you to complete Emory Essentials Packet 1 and 2 while you're registering or before your student has their pre-registration advisement meeting. That would help the advisors in the meeting and the students in the registration process. After that, they'll complete their Emory Essentials Packet 3, which will be available on July 15th and has an August 15th due date. Our pre-registration advising meetings are 1-hour virtual meetings with an Emory staff member that will take place from July 12th to August 4th. And as we mentioned, your students can register for those when they are available. Our new student orientation details will be coming in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, you. And really, all of the Emory Essentials modules are in Canvas. Your student has had access to these since May. And hopefully they're making progress. We've been checking on their progress as well. So most of them have done that and done a great job getting through the details. We do space these out through the summer because they are content heavy and we want to make sure that your students have enough time to digest it. But if they're late, if they haven't done it, it's okay. These are open all summer long and they can still complete. There's no penalty if they haven't completed these modules. The other great thing is that they're in Canvas, which is our student learning management system. It's a great way for them just to get used to how materials are posted in Canvas. Most Emory classes have a Canvas course associated with it. So that's really good practice. But also we want your students to be able to go back to a module or go back to a video if something really kind of was interesting to them or didn't quite make sense. It's absolutely okay that they go at their own time and pace throughout all of these materials.
We also have a question in Q&A, which we answered early, but it might be from a parent who came on later. And that's whether these registration appointments are individual or group. So if you all can answer that, we said it earlier, they might have missed it.
Yeah, they're all group appointments and those are intentional. And so your student should have received an email on Wednesday, July 7th, that was a specific invitation for their pre-registration advisor. Each PRA actually filmed a short video to get them ready for that appointment. So they'll watch it and then come ready to really talk about their schedules in a group. And every appointment is an hour long.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about how the registration process will roll out. Registration is going to open on August 9th at 12 noon. The registration will open and be open and available until 11:59 on that day, okay? It will reopen the following day at 12 noon and stay open through August 11th at 11:59 p.m. On the very first day of registration, your students will only be able to register for 8 credit hours on day 1. So don't panic if you can't add more than 8 credit hours, that is by design. In your PRA meetings, you can about what are good combinations of courses to choose for your first 8 credit hours, but ensure your student does register for 8 credit hours on day 1. They register for the remaining credit hours on day 2 and day 3 with a minimum of 12 credit hours and a max of 19 credit hours. Again, depending on your student, you can find a way to register for classes in between the minimum and maximum. And again, all courses will count toward graduation. In addition to the credit hours you're registering for, please remember to include your requirements, which again, we will highlight in their pre-registration advising group appointments. Couple other dates to keep in mind. August 23rd through September the 1st is our add drop swap period. Add drop swap allows students to re-engage in the scheduling process in real time, add classes that they may have been waitlisted for, or swap other classes they like to choose different selections for. All students, not just first-year students, will be updating their schedules during this time. So there's a lot of classes that will become available and classes that will fill during this time as well. Just keep in mind, registration is a process, and we'll keep saying that. It's not an event. You may go through several mock schedules before you get your final schedule finalized. Again, everything counts toward graduation.
I'd love to ask Michael a little bit about this too, how add drop swap actually works, and maybe your experience with that and picking up classes throughout that first week of school as well, either your experience or some of your friends' experiences.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me personally, add drop swap is kind of where the miracles happen. For some reason, I had, I don't know, connectivity issues for the past 3 years. So when I first enroll, sometimes I don't get all the classes that I want and classes that I need. But add drop swap is where it really kind of helps. So how add drop swap works is that you're able to drop classes, you're able to get on the wait list on certain classes, and then add them to your schedule as they open up. But in my experience, at least for the classes that are bigger in size, so the very general classes, they tend to open up relatively quickly. And so if you tell your son or daughter, hey, like, don't worry too much, during add drop swap, you'll be able to get the class that you want. It may not necessarily be the certain time, but you'll definitely be able to get the class that you want. And then, at the end of the day, um, you know, I guess a tip that I have is that, you can always email your professor or the professor that's teaching the class and see if it's a possibility to overload the class, and be able to be added on to the class. I know that I've done that for a couple of my professors, and they were willing to add me into the class. And then I was able to get in no problem. And so, yeah, just trust the process. And like they said, registration is a process, not an event. And so making sure that, you're not too stressed about registration, because you'll eventually get all the classes that you need and want.
At Emory too, we really think about registration for first years over the course of a year, not just a semester. And so some classes might close in the fall semester, but they're offered every semester. And we know that that is the case. It's actually some of the reasons why some of our classes can stay small, because they'll have sections in the fall or the spring. We know that some classes you might wait till the sophomore year to take them, and that's part of the process too. So Michael, those were really good tips. The other thing I want to highlight, and I think some of our other advisors will say this again, 15 to 17 credit hours, and there is a flux in there, is the sweet spot. If your students are registering between 15 and 17 credits every semester, they will graduate within 4 years. That's not to say that some might have to have a few more credits if they're in a lab or something else is happening this semester. Maybe that first semester they're at 13 or 14, although that limits some other academic options. But that 15 to 17 credits every semester really will keep them on track to graduate. I know they're just starting, but we really want them to graduate as well. And so you can remind them that that is absolutely okay. That's somewhere between 4 and 5 academic classes, but it really depends, because some of our classes have more credit hours attached to them and some have a little bit fewer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alice Rollins, and as Dean Orbers already mentioned earlier, I'm an assistant director in the Office for Undergraduate Education. And some of those classes that your students will be registering for will be our general education requirements, or our GERs, as we call them here at Emory University. Our GERs consist of a total of 10 different categories, including the ECS 101 course, which is the Emory Edge, which is a really great course. It helps students acclimate to the different policies on campus, as well as getting them to realize some of their interests that they may have on campus and how to explore different curriculums or extracurricular options. So your students will have the opportunity to delve deeper with the ECS 101 course. And again, as I said before, also get acclimated to the culture here at Emory University. Now, every student here at Emory University is required to complete all 10 of the categories of our general education requirements. And those classes do count towards their graduation requirements as well. And as Dean Orbers already stated earlier, staying between that 15 to 17 hours when they are registering for classes will keep them on track. Staying between, or excuse me, having a balanced schedule between majors and minors and GERs is what we're looking for your students to register for, or to have every single semester during their tenure here. Now, during that first year, students are required to complete 4 of the GERs that you see highlighted here in this graphic, and highlighted in the blue squares in this graphic here. And those 4 items are, or those 4 courses are the freshman seminar, the first year writing requirement, Health 100, and ECS 101. The 4 classes that they will be required to take can be taken again within that first year. 2 of those courses must be taken fall 2021, which is the Health 100 and ECS 101. So those 2 courses in particular, each student or each of your students will register for a section of those courses. Now, all of the other GERs that are in the white squares can be taken at the student's own pace. And we do not expect your student to complete each of these GERs or each of the GERs within the first year or within the first 2 years. They are really meant to help balance their schedule. So again, when they're registering for classes, they should always be registering for 1 or 2 GERs, and of course, again, their major and minor courses. And what they'll find when they're here at Emory is that they can double dip, as we call it, because a lot of their major and minor courses will also be tagged as GERs. So your student never has to worry about fulfilling those GERs within a certain time period. They would naturally fulfill those courses. Plus, they have us as academic advisors as well to keep them on track. And one of the great things about offering general education requirements is that it really allows students to delve deeper into the liberal arts curriculum that Emory is known for. We have over 80 different majors, over 60 different minors, so students really have the opportunity to take the time and explore what particular courses or major or minor area that they want to major or minor in. I repeated myself here. While they're here at Emory, we don't require students to declare their major until their second semester in their sophomore year. And that is because we want to make sure that students have had an equal amount of opportunity, again, to explore areas that they may not have had in high school. We know that students change their majors a lot when they come to college. I should say a lot, but on average between 3 to 4 times, which again is normal, which is why we give them that opportunity or give them that time frame. So encourage your student, again, to maintain a balanced schedule. Encourage them to take a couple of GERs every single semester, take between 15 to 17 credit hours to stay balanced, and they will reach graduation status. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing the students.
Alice, stay on with me for a second, because that was all such amazing information. One of the things I love to see, and I know you work with a lot of seniors crossing the finish line, is about 70% of our first year students change their academic interests between right now and November. And so just wanted you to talk about that and maybe some of the students that you've worked with and how that really is possible, and how it plays out in those really first and second years.
Yeah, so a lot of students definitely, we have come into Emory University. They already know what they want to do, which is fine, which is completely fine. And then there are a lot of students who feel like, oh, I'm just so lost. I'm not keeping up with my peers in terms of expectations or their perceived expectations of where they should be at. And with changing their major or their minor, again, going back to what I said earlier, Emory really does believe in a liberal arts curriculum and the values that are espoused within within the liberal arts curriculum. So changing a major or a minor gives students that flexibility to be able to do that and have the time to explore those different interests, and also the flexibility to change their mind, because we want to make sure that when they leave Emory, they're leaving in a space that they are confident that this is what I know that I want to do with my life. This is in a space that I was able to accomplish something different, and that they are able to go out and be able to not necessarily, I just went blank there. I'm so sorry about that. But when they leave Emory, so to speak, that they walk out confidently knowing that they were able to explore the area that they themselves felt was in tune with who they are as an individual, right? So again, students come in, of course, some of them know what they want to do, others may not know, but again, Emory allows that flexibility to be able to do that. We still see students change their major or minors within that first 2 years, sometimes maybe a semester after that first 2 years while they're here, but they're still able to graduate on time. And that's also because those students have been in contact with their academic advisor. They've already been exploring those classes that they want to take. But again, Emory provides that flexibility to be able to do that. So students should not be stressed about changing a major or minor or feel that they're trapped. That's part of the reason why we don't have students actually declare their major within their first semester. But it's completely normal and it is okay.
And Alice, I want to add to what you're saying in that, you know, we have so many students who come pre-med or come pre-law and they feel very focused, and that's wonderful to have that focus. However, that's the beauty of Emory, is that you explore other areas and that makes you a better candidate for graduate school, because you aren't just that science person, or you aren't just that political science person. You are a person who's explored other topics. You are thinking critically. You're able to problem solve. That's what all this is about, is also problem solving, critically thinking, looking at answers through a different lens and not just a one specific lens. So looking at different aspects. So I really enforce what you're saying, Alice.
Yeah, these are the skill sets that the marketplace is looking for too. I mean, when a student is sitting down in front of an employer, you know, the skill sets that they're learning through the liberal arts or through these general education requirements are, you know, in terms of the critical thinking, the writing skills, being able to problem solve, you know, these are the kinds of abilities that we want our students to leave Emory University possessing, so that when they are out and they are looking for those jobs, they can easily apply knowing that they are confident in being able to obtain that position and work confidently on that position and work with the expertise that they've developed in the liberal arts curriculum that we have to offer here.
Okay, some additional advising support that we offer is track advising. Track advising presentations are posted in Emory Essentials, so be sure the students view those if they're interested. We have track advising for nursing majors, business majors, pre-health, and/or dual degree majors. The track advising sessions are taking place yesterday and today. The last pre-health advising session is actually taking place at 1 o'clock today after today's meeting. So if your student can attend, please have them do so. They will be recorded so you can review them at a later time.
And Hugh, because you're pre-health, I'll pick your brain on this and kind of piggybacking off of what Alice just said. A track is not a major. They're just a collection of courses that you take to prepare you to apply to something, either the business or nursing school or post-Emory. So can you talk a little bit of that? And we have so many pre-health students and pre-business, but what you're seeing come in and kind of the wide array of academic interest students have, even if they're following a track.
Sure, as Alice mentioned earlier, we want you to take advantage of the liberal arts education Emory offers, and you truly can do so and not affect your postgraduate career. We see students with a number of majors be very successful in their pre-nursing, pre-health, pre-med, pre-dental tracks, pre-business, or even engineering down the road. So we really want you to take the first semester, or first 2 semesters even, to get a sense of what your interests are, knowing that you still can plan ahead and be very prepared for the career you're looking for in the graduate perspective.
Awesome, thanks.
Hi everyone, it's nice to be with you today. As Sherry mentioned earlier, my name is Jason Aronzeller and I work with international students as an academic advisor in Emory College. And I wanted to bring a little bit more of our attention back to add-drop swap that we'd spoken about before, and Michael gave a really nice perspective from kind of the student lens. This is really a crucial time to finalize that fall schedule. This is a window where students are free to add an additional course, get rid of one, switch one for another. And the unique thing about add-drop swap is this trial period really takes place for about a week during the beginning of classes. So students can actually attend class, get a feel for if the course is a right fit, especially if they're trying out a new discipline, which is something that we just brought up a bit earlier. And also, I think at a macro level, it's super helpful to figure out kind of the overall feel for your workload and your schedule. So we've been talking about 15 to 17 credits being sort of a sweet spot in terms of making good academic progress towards that 4-year completion of your degree. But you can really get like an emotional understanding of what 15 to 70 credits feels like, as far as going to all your classes and still having that opportunity to make an adjustment. So it's quite unique. We're able to kind of go experience the course and still have that ability to be flexible. And another kind of reminder, we touched on a little bit before, but another reason why that 15 to 17 range is so helpful, because if down the line after add-drop swap closes, if your student is in that range, they'll have the flexibility if something unexpected comes up. If a course, after that add-drop swap kind of trial period still isn't sitting right, there's an opportunity to withdraw from a course. So, being able to maintain that minimum 12 credit hours for enrollment after withdrawal is a nice kind of padding as well. So just another pointer there.
Jason, can I follow up on this? Because I know we're going to get a lot of first year students. They're all registering on the same days that will say that perfect schedule I've created in my shopping cart didn't exist. Now what do I do? I'm stuck. And so how do you advise students to really go to that next step, even though we've now just said, put 50 courses in your shopping cart and be flexible and don't think that you're going to have one schedule? How do you work with students when that question comes up?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. I understand that frustration. So in addition, to advising international students at Emory, I went to Emory. I did all my 4 years at undergraduate level here. And my first semester, I had my first, perfect schedule planned out. And when push came to shove after, initial registration, I didn't really end up with anything that I was planning for. But by the end of it, I was able to really get situated in everything that I was hoping for. And we've stressed this before, but it truly is a process. So after that initial, those first 2 registration days, between August 9th and the 11th, the course may be closed. You may have to, enroll in a different section of, something else that you're thinking about. But things are really fluid. There's a lot of turnover during add-drop swaps. So as I mentioned before, people go to courses, sometimes it's not a right fit, they change their mind, we'll drop that, a seat will open up. There really is a lot of fluctuation and movement. So I think the first thing would just be sort of trusting and knowing kind of how the dynamic typically shapes out, and that things will, the outlook will increase day by day as we get into that critical range of add-drop swap between August 23rd and September 1st. But also, I think this year is going to be unique that, we have a much more significant return to campus and many more in-person courses, and a unique kind of advantage is that sometimes if you go to a class, even if you're not enrolled in it yet, you can participate, try and speak with a faculty member afterwards. I would suggest waiting to contact faculty members about potential overloads until add-drop swap has begun, to just be kind of more respectful of their time, but also to yield a more positive result most likely. But there are different recourses such as that. But my main piece of advice would be just to kind of trust that during this window, a lot of movement does happen. So.
And Jason, you had mentioned kind of maintaining that 12 credit hours. So I want to talk a little bit about that too. At Emory, all of our students are full-time students. So that means that they always have to be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours. In this first semester, we limit your students to 19. And when we tell you 19 is plenty, we really mean 19 is plenty. So that's why we're still shouting from the rooftop 15 to 17. Jason mentioned kind of in passing that students do have an option to withdraw from a class. So withdrawing from a class is an option if it's just, something happens in the semester. Maybe they get really sick and they fall behind. Maybe it's just not the right class, or they're really, really struggling and it's pulling down the rest of their academic performance and their happiness and all of that. So we do allow students to withdraw from a class as long as they can maintain that 12 credit hours. And so this is just a basic math problem. If a student is enrolled in 15 credit hours and they want to withdraw from a class that's 3, they'll maintain 12, that's fine. But if they're in only 15 credit hours and they want to withdraw from a class that was 4 credits, that puts them under 12. And so again, that's why we say that sweet spot's a little bit fluctuating, but they want to do that basic math test too to see if they needed to withdraw. Nobody starts the semester thinking they're going to withdraw, but if they need to, that they can still maintain that 12 credit hours. And also as a reminder, a W does not affect the GPA. It is not the scarlet letter. It has no bearing on graduate admission or jobs. It is a rite of passage for many, many college students. So that's when your student really would talk with the faculty member and an academic advisor to see if that is the right option for them. But that's why we want to make sure students are in enough credit so that they have some options later on. Anything, Jason, you want to add to that?
I would just stress too that, we do set that 19 cap, for a very intentional reason. That I always speak to my advisees in terms of like coming to your limit as far as like what's a comfortable course load from the bottom. You don't, and especially the first semester where you're getting acclimated to a new academic institution, life at college, sort of, additional responsibilities and time management kind of platforms. It is really, I think, extremely advisable to sort of ease into that limit. And 15, 17 still going to be, it's still going to be, quite, demanding, but certainly doable.
Thanks.
Okay, so we actually got a question in the chat about this before. So since that add drop swap period is, quite crucial, we do have a lot of support options, really tied into this window. Particularly, going back to registration, which is going to take place, over 2 days on August 9th, and then between the 10th and 11th for the remainder of the additional course load. So beyond those first 8 credits. So we'll have drop-in hours readily available. We'll have, multiple advisors set and ready to go in Zoom rooms. So all those links will be sent out and available shortly on our college.emory.edu site. And then at the beginning of add drop swap, we'll have, additional virtual and some in-person advising drop-in sessions. In-person sessions will be in Cox Hall and in Whitehall. These are like central campus locations that are all close to first year halls. So we will definitely be with super, ready to go. All advisors will be, either available to answer any immediate questions through drop-in hours, and those that aren't doing drop-in hours at the particular moment will be, closely monitoring email. I believe we'll actually also have something the day before on the 8th, if anyone has questions, like right before registration.
All right. So I know we've been giving you a lot of information. And so thinking about all of this information, how can you assist your student? And so we've just provided some questions that you can start thinking about and considering having conversations with your student about, just to make sure that they are fully prepared for all that is ahead of them. And so some of these here include, have you submitted those AP and IB scores, as we mentioned previously? And with those AP and IB scores, has a student been able to see them posted in Opus? So if they're receiving AP credit for Math 111, which is calculus, can they actually see that in Opus? And if they can't, then maybe talking during their pre-registration advising meeting to that advisor about what they need to do to make sure that those AP scores are indeed posted in Opus. Submitting those previous transcripts. And again, are we seeing those credits posted in Opus as well? Emory Essentials 1 and 2 are a wonderful resource and tool for learning all about all things Emory. And so making sure that your student has finished Emory Essentials 1 and 2 so that they have all the relevant information that they need moving forward. And then maybe having an organic conversation with them about what did you learn in Emory Essentials 1 and 2. There's a lot of helpful, useful information in there that will guide them along the way. And so just chatting with them about, what did you learn? Maybe what else do you want to find out? Did they schedule that pre-registration advising appointment? Those start on Monday. So they can go ahead and get scheduled for Monday or in the next couple of weeks. We want to have that done so that they are ready for registration. talking to them about the course atlas. What classes did they find? What are they most excited about? Did they see any really interesting courses that they're looking forward to trying to take? And then finally, what additional information might you want to find out? There's plenty of time during the summer and at orientation for them to learn even more information that maybe we didn't include in a presentation or in Emory Essentials. They're going to be interacting with a lot of people, RAs, orientation leaders, other students, other staff members. And so maybe there's other additional information that they want to find out from those people as well.
And if for those of you who've been with Bridget and myself throughout the summer, we say this often, but the goal of all of this is to get your students curious and doing the work. And so I love, Kimber, that you pose these as questions you can ask for your students. Please don't take this as parents, did you submit your students' AP scores? Or parents, did you fill the course atlas up? We really are teaching your students how to fish here. And so I think the best way to support them, and Bridget, you can kind of chime in on this, is by asking them what they've done, what they've learned, where they want to go, and reminding them that all of these resources exist. We know we are resource heavy and it can be overwhelming. And I think as a parent or family member, reminding students that they have the tools, that they have the resources to search, and it's okay to follow up with questions, absolutely okay. But that's what we really are hoping you as the parent and family members can help do.
Yeah, and as Sherry said, we always say on these, we want you to be able to give your student a nice nudge. And you could also blame us. You could also say, I attended this webinar to be more informed as a parent and family member, and now I need to ask you these things. So put it back on us. We're fine with that. We know that your relationship with your student is so important and you're such a supporter, and we want you to know that we're there to support your student too. And the whole idea is having them become an independent adult, and it is quite different from high school. So we're doing this. I love about Emory is that, like Sherry said, we've been doing the virtual advising for 5 years. So we've been on top of this for a while, and that's been great because when the pandemic hit, we were already doing some of these aspects of advising. So let them know little by little, just keep doing, check their email. I would say every day they should check their email. That's just a regular part of being an adult now, is checking your Emory email. We send a lot through that. And then as Sherry mentioned, Canvas. So we appreciate all you're doing, and we hope that you are all on the portal and that you're getting that information too. So thank you.
And all of those emails are going to go to their Emory email address. So making sure that they're checking that address and not the personal one for all of the good information that everyone is sending to them.
Kimber, we have a good question in chat because you had mentioned where students can check their previous credits in Opus.
Mm-hmm.
We will say that AP scores usually don't get released until middle of July, at least for the seniors. So it's a little bit of time before they might get posted, but can you share where your students will find it? And this is in their resources too, the first year resources and others.
Yes, and this is also something that we can show your student during our pre-registration advising meeting as well. But when you log into Opus, or when your student logs into Opus, they're going to see quite a few tiles. That's what we call them. And there's one called the academic records tile. And if they go into this academic records tile, they'll be able to see those scores there. There's also a tile that will allow them to see a degree tracker and our advisement report, and AP scores are also posted in there as well. They're usually denoted with a T for like transfer credit. So just looking for that designation as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. So we're getting close to the end, guys. Thanks so much for following along with us. So supporting your student through this process is so important, as Sherry and Bridget both alluded to. And the last time we'll say it probably, registration is a process, not an event. So just making sure that we all understand this and that we embrace this concept, because it truly is what that means, is that it is a multi-step, multi-day process, and it is going to take some time. That no such thing as that perfect schedule. I believe Jason mentioned this previously. A lot of times students aren't going to have their schedule finalized until that first week of classes. So when they register for their classes on August 9th through the 11th, their schedule may look totally different when it comes to September 1st, when the add drop swap period ends. Everything counts towards graduation. Your students are going to be taking so many credits and earning so many credits that even if it's not a class that they thought they wanted to take, or if it's not a class that's fulfilling a major or minor requirement, it's still counting towards the credits that they need. And then finally, if they don't get the courses that they want, which they may very well may not on all cases, what else are they excited about? As Sherry mentioned previously, there are so many departments and so many courses and so many wonderful instructors here on the Emory campus. So just getting excited and being curious and having that open mind and exploring really is a great way for you to support your student through this process.
So here are some key fall dates that we want you to be mindful of. Again, Add Drop Swap will take place August 23rd through September 1st. On September 1st, Add Drop Swap will end promptly at 11:59 p.m. The first day of classes does start August 25th. The wait list will be purged the morning of August 31st, and we will be talking with your students more about the wait list during our pre-registration advising sessions. Labor Day is September 6th, so of course there's no classes that day. Yes, a little break for everybody. Students do have the option here at Emory University to change the grading basis deadline of change the grading basis of their courses, and that deadline is October 15th. Now, earlier, some of my colleagues talked about having to withdraw from a course. There are two deadlines by which they can withdraw from a course if in fact they need to. The first is our standard withdrawal deadline, which takes place on October 15th. Again, it promptly ends at 11:59. And then there is a one-time late withdrawal for our first year students that they can utilize, and that is on November 12th. And again, it promptly ends at 11:59 p.m. Classes end on December 7th. They will be given a reading day, which is December 8th, to help them prepare for final exams, which takes place December 9th through the 15th. And then the end of the term ends on December 18th. Thank you.
And I'm actually going to put this in the chat, but residence halls actually close on December 16th. So while the official registrar says that the end of the term is the 18th, students will move out of their residence halls for winter break on the 16th. That is all noted in the first year checklist and the reference pages. And so I know we've been getting a lot of questions about that in the orientation email. When can I book my students' flights home? Your students, the good news is, will know their final exam schedule by September 1st because they'll have a syllabus and they'll know what courses they're in, and that won't change. And so if you can hold off at least until September 1st to buy that plane ticket home, that's great. But the very latest that they can stay on campus is December 16th, 1/6. And I think we had a typo there too, that Labor Day is September 5th this year, not 6th. But hey, we'll keep celebrating that as well. But thanks, Alice. Those are great deadlines. This is another great plug, and maybe actually either Paul or Jill can put this in the chat. The Emory College calendar is the calendar that we want you all following. If you just Google Emory calendar, you will find the registrar calendar. And that's great, except for that it takes care of all 9 of our schools, including the law school and the medical school in Oxford. And some of those dates get to be confusing. So if you actually Google Emory College calendar, that will have all of the academic dates, including the final exam schedules that are really important for your college students. As a reminder, all of your students are starting with us in Emory College of Arts and Sciences, so that's the right calendar to be following.
All right, hello again. So as far as, some more next steps, as we mentioned today, that this past Wednesday, the invitation to the pre-registration advising session went out. So as you're speaking with your students, obviously you need to certainly check if they've received that email. We also included kind of a part 1 to the advising session. That's a pre-recorded video session. So definitely ensure that they've watched that as well. Some things to know too about the pre-registration advising appointment. They are really small, intimate group settings with a max of 4 students in a session. They'll be an hour long, and in most cases, the pre-registration advisor will be your child's assigned academic advisor, but it's not always the case. There are exceptions. Starting in August, we should have more information sent out about those concrete kind of academic advisor assignments for you've got questions there. So, will be announced shortly. And then in these sessions, the last thing to note will span really from July 12th to August 4th. So when your child goes in, and clicks the registration link, you'll see a calendar to a bunch of different times. Should be offered different times of the day. We know a lot of folks are in different time zones now too, especially it's kind of on my mind with international students. So, definitely make sure you look at both July and August on the calendar to see, what's most convenient.
And actually, Jason, that reminds me, students only need to sign up and should only sign up for one pre-registration advising appointment. If for some reason there's an emergency and you need to cancel and reschedule, that's fine. They can use the same link. But we try to get, again, 1,520 students through this. So we really want to make sure that all of our students are seen. This is a requirement so that we make sure that we're setting everybody up for success too. As always, if you have additional questions, there were some questions in the chat today about students not getting their PRA links. And so please feel free to email ec.orientation@emory.edu. It's great actually if your student sends that email, then we know that they're taking some agency and doing it themselves. They always need to include their name and their student ID numbers. That helps us get them connected to the right person. Because we've assigned pre-registration advisors, we have to look your student up and make sure that we're sending the right link to the right advisor. There was also a question in the chat about bill pay. Just wanted to make sure that we answered that. Bridget did respond that the bills go live really July 20th. We know that some of you have gone in and have seen some bills. Right now, a lot of different offices are posting charges. You're not going to be mailed a bill. And so really you want to wait until all of the charges have been posted to see before you can pay. So if you cannot click the pay bill at this point, then do not panic. It means that it's not ready for payment yet.
And then also the final bill payment is due September 1. So you'll have several weeks to figure that out. And we know that's an important aspect of how you support your students. So thank you.
Yeah. And some good questions about our class. Yeah, our first year class is 1521 as of this morning, I think that is. So right around there, we're really excited about that. Emory College of Arts and Sciences has about 5,800 students. And then of course, our business school has about 950 students. Nursing school has about 100 students. Those are just juniors and seniors. So a very exciting, vibrant undergraduate community. And those are just our undergrads. We have 7 other graduate and professional schools that have different enrollment too. And then one more shout out for that academic calendar. Yes, that is the great calendar there. And December 16th, all of these dates, the really important dates for you, including Family and Parent Weekend, which Bridget runs, are on the first year checklist. And so those would be great dates for you to note.
Okay, so our next session is learning in a hybrid world. So you'll hear from some Emory College faculty, and that'll be exciting. And then we've got July 30th, housing, dining, residence life. We know folks will be interested in that. Those housing assignments will be going out in the next week or so. August 6th, we're doing a session on talking to your college students. And it's about things we already know you talk to them about, but a little bit deeper about social issues, what they're dealing with in relationships, how everything is so more independent for them, and helping them adjust to those that independence. And then also August 13th, Sherry and I will have drop-in hours for you to ask any questions and for us to hopefully answer questions that you have.
So panelists, if you want to turn your cameras back on and wave to everyone, thank you so much for your expertise, all this great knowledge. I hope for parents and families, you know that we have a great staff of advisors who really want to see your students succeed, and we will help them throughout the process, as we have said, not an event, but throughout the process this semester and in future semesters as well. So we are so excited to get this, this process kicked off on Monday with pre-registration advising. It really is an exciting time for college students to get started on why they're coming to Emory to take those classes. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.
Thank you all. Mm-hmm.